Thank you all for coming tonight. My name is Skip Rutherford. I'm Dean of the Clinton School, and we're honored to partner with the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau to welcome you to the stage at the new Robinson Auditorium. This is honoring the past and anticipating the future. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to have, I'm going to introduce the panel now, and then we're going to have a video, and then we'll let a few presentations, then open it up to questions. But this panel knows about this facility. We have, of course, the Honorable Mark Stodola, the Mayor of the City of Little Rock. It's a big thing for the city. Probably the person that deserves the greatest credit for not only the vision, but for just getting through this project. And that is Gretchen Hall, the President and CEO of the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau. We have Kevin McClurkin with us with Eniad Architects. Kevin's from Pine Bluff. He's a longtime friend of ours. He was on the team that designed the Clinton Presidential Library when I was in charge of that project. Thank God Gretchen was in charge of this one. And we have David Porter with Polk Stanley Wilcox. Polk Stanley was also involved in our project. They're a great local firm, and their work together between Kevin and David have just done a spectacular job. So please enjoy the short video.
Story behind the headlines. The National Broadcasting Company.
It was built in 1939. It has a very modern sort of Art Deco style to it. And that was a real inspiration in the design, exterior as well as interior, where we really tried to focus and reveal some of that historic detailing, but be inspired by it in any new detailing that we do.
It certainly now is a bookend of this area, and was an opportunity for the city to either say we're going to keep this building vital and important, or let it go and do something somewhere else. And so we think the decision by the city to keep this building and repurpose it, reconstitute it, reimagine it is one of those critical things they could have done, and we applaud that, and we're proud to be a part of it.
We've expanded. We now have additional stage storage, dressing rooms on stage level, and a service corridor on the back of house. So all things that now make this performance hall a functional performance hall. And to top it off, we're going to be in our first season premiering Arkansas's premiere of The Phantom of the Opera. And season 2 will be anchored by The Lion King. Both performances we were not able to attract to the state of Arkansas prior to this renovation.
Before we start, I was going to say, I don't know if he's here or not, is Scott Carter here? Scott Carter with the City of Little Rock. Scott's not here. Scott's doing a book on Robinson Auditorium, the history of Robinson Auditorium, so that'll be out later this year, and I encourage everybody to do that. Now, just so everybody gets the big kahuna out of the room, is that we did have an election. And I'm not going to comment on that election, but I am going to say that in 1949, President Harry Truman was the first sitting president to be on this stage. He was here for a World War I Army reunion, and he became the first president of the United States to be here. And then I want to salute the late Jim Porter. Many of you remember Jim Porter and his love for music and work. He wrote in the Pulaski County Historical Review, he wrote this in 2005. In August 1961, Ray Charles performed at Robinson Auditorium before a large crowd. While looking for seats, none of which were reserved, I was arrested by a Little Rock policeman. I asked him why, and he replied, "You're attempting to incite a riot." I asked how, and he replied, "You're trying to sit in the colored section." I was escorted out of the rear of the auditorium to a police car, frisked for what I don't know, and driven to the lower part of the city jail. The following month, we contracted Duke Ellington and his 15-piece orchestra to perform at the unbelievably low price of $1,150. Naturally, we were all excited about hearing Duke, as well as the money we hoped to make from this event. 5 days before the concert, we received the following telegram. Duke Ellington refuses to play Little Rock on the basis of segregation law. Duke had understandably made this decision based on counsel from the NAACP. There was nothing in the contract with the auditorium that required segregated seating and nothing that prevented integrated seating. When we met with their board, the Robinson board, regarding this matter, they would only say, "It's our policy." I pleaded with them, stating it would soon be the law of the land, 1961. The reply from one of the board members was, "It may soon be the law of the land, but it will never be the law of the Robinson Auditorium." Well, in 2000, as the governor pointed out this morning, Daisy Bates's memorial service was held on this stage. And I think we've come a long way. And this facility represents the best and the future. So while we honor the past, I think the best is yet to be. And to talk about that and the past and what's happening, please welcome the mayor of Little Rock, Mark Stover.
It's really been an honor for me as the mayor to be the owner's representative on this project. You know, this is a municipal auditorium that's owned by the city and managed by our Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau and the Advertising and Promotion Commission. And so there's two board members, myself and Gene Fortson, that sit on that commission. And this project really began about 5 years ago, and I know that Gretchen's going to tell you a little bit more about that. From a concept standpoint to move into ultimately what you see today. It's been a labor of love for many of us. I've got my own hard hat. As many of you know, my office windows are right across the street, so I've had a real bird's eye view of watching not only the demolition that went on, but also the reconstruction. And those photographs of demolition are pretty graphic, really, when you talk about what happened. And of course, the negotiations with our wonderful team of architects and contractors trying to make sure that we could get this done for what we call a GMP, a guaranteed maximum price, was a lot of fun. And we all were able to come to a conclusion. And we've got those people with us tonight, so I'm not going to belabor a whole lot of information, but in addition to the architects, Polk Stanley, Wilcox, and Enniad, we have our CDI Hunt joint venture that is here tonight that can answer some questions. And we have some wonderful theatrical sub-consultants, Schuler Shook and Jaffe Holden, to deal with the acoustics and the actual staging of this theater here. It's been pretty amazing because you are now sitting on a stage that was 31 feet higher than it was the last time you were in here. And if you look at the back there and just kind of figure out where 31 feet is, you will imagine what's happened. We've turned this thing basically on its head and brought the seats closer so that you all are going to have a great opportunity to see some wonderful performances. Now, Scott Carter is not here, but he's been fine to give me some of the history, or at least help me fill in the blanks on the history. And I want to mention, of course, it's named after Jyoti Robinson, a United States Senator who served from 1913 till 1937. He died in office. He never had a chance to ever step foot in this building. However, he was not only our senator then, but he was our 23rd governor, for all of 55 days before he was named to the United States Senate, appointed to the United States Senate. Prior to that, he was a congressman and certainly served this state very ably. He was a good friend with Franklin Roosevelt. He was a three-time chair of the Democratic National Committee. He served as the vice presidential candidate for the Democratic candidate in 1928, Alfred Smith. Some of you may have watched the Alfred E. Smith dinner that's done in Washington, I guess it's done in New York now. That is a real top political event. You know, people make fun of each other. I think we saw attempts at that earlier this month, or last month, I guess. And the creation of this building was really something that we never want to emulate, and I'm happy to tell you that we did this project on time and on budget, $71.5 million on time and on budget. However, it was 70 million.
That's right. Don't add a million on me.
We kept talking about that extra million that they wanted, and we got rid of that. So 70.5 million. I'll tell you that the opening in 1940 was a long time coming. There were several mayors that were involved in trying to get an auditorium built. Mayor Warren Leon first had the idea for a municipal auditorium in 1904. It took till 1940 to get one. And it was supposed to be a part of the new city hall. And as wont to be, there is even litigation back in 1904. And somebody sued, and there was a court order that was used to stop public money from being used for a municipal auditorium. So he abandoned the idea, and instead the 1908 City Hall was built next door. So several other mayors tried to build the auditorium. There was Charles Taylor, Ben Brickhouse, Charles Moyer, and then ultimately with the creation of the New Deal, Jyoti Robinson being a friend of Franklin Roosevelt, obviously things got a little bit better. And ultimately, Richard Overman, who was the mayor who started the process, and it was ultimately finished by J.V. Satterfield. Some of these names are some old Little Rock names you've probably heard. And he was the mayor who made sure the building was finished. However, they ran out of money, and it was several months into his administration, and he ultimately had to try and find the money to get it built. So it was over budget then, but it's not over budget now. You know, some of you know I love preservation and history, and so one of the things that was important to me, as there was a big discussion about whether or not this building would be abandoned, there were certain members of the community who really wanted to talk about putting a new concert hall auditorium somewhere else. And there were those of us who felt strongly that should not be the case, that we should give a new vision, a new future to this, to Robinson, hence the second act of the renaissance and rehabilitation of this building. And so important to that was keeping the original entryway, as you know, the historic lobby. If those of you had a chance to see that, we've still got a couple light fixtures that are being fabricated for us to put in there. But if you walk to the back of the first balcony here, you'll see some of the original circular Art Deco fixtures that were refurbished, and they are simply beautiful. I hope you'll take a look at those, because there actually were 6 of those in the house, and we were able to salvage 2 of them and perhaps a third one to be able to put them and reuse them. And I think our architects are quite excited about the fact that we were able to do that. The medallions that had been covered over for years in the 1974 renovation were uncovered and were refabricated. The masks, the Art Deco masks on the outside of the building, largely were brought back into some attention, where you've got a chance to see them from the interior of the building. One of them had been defaced, and we were able to get that repaired. Really trying to keep with the Art Deco characterization of this building. One of the things that I think is really cool is the inside of this. While this was an Art Deco building, was, I guess, some revival type columns on the outside of it. Greek revival, yes. There was not much deco. There was not much deco inside this hall here, and so we really want to try and keep some of that stylistic idea going on. And so you'll see that the walls on either side of here were done in such a way as to try and replicate some of those Art Deco styles. You know, we've had Elvis Presley here. We've had Duke Ellington, I think actually did come ultimately. Ray Charles, Nat King Cole, Mae West, Willie Nelson, Jerry Seinfeld, Bob Hope, the Beach Boys, John Lennon, Mikhail Baryshnikov. It kind of gives you an idea of what we've had here in the past that we can expect in the future. And I wanted to mention to you just a couple of things about things that have already been scheduled. We have like 16 different events that have already been scheduled. Very eclectic. Of course, this is the home of the symphony, the Arkansas Symphony Orchestra. We've got their first concert, the November 19th and 20th. They're playing here, the Pines of Rome. We've got the 10 Tenors. We've got the free concert that the symphony is doing on November 30th. Elf, the musical, during Christmas, the Christmas time. We've got, of course, Ballet Arkansas's Nutcracker, which will be back on the stage. My daughter has danced, I think, in every one since she was 3 years old. She's about 35 now, so she's excited to be back on the stage. You probably know that the Miss Arkansas pageant has signed a 5-year contract to be up here now, so we will be hosting Miss Arkansas in the future. And we had the new Miss Arkansas on the stage here to sing the national anthem earlier today. The Moscow Ballet, Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella, Don Henley and J.D. and the Straight Shot. We've got an ASO rendition of Bruce Springsteen. And what I kind of like is the Legends of Southern Hip Hop, featuring Trick Daddy, Mystical, Juvenile, Pastor Troy, 8 Ball and Mug, and Scarface. And I know you know every single one of them, don't you? And of course then, as has been mentioned, in March we'll see Phantom of the Opera and later on Lion King. You know, the thing about this is that not only is it really, I always believe that the arts and culture of our city defines the heart of our city. And when that's going strong, the rest of the city goes strong. And I'm so proud and excited that we've got this wonderful, wonderful facility here, not only the auditorium itself, but the conference center, which is going to bring in so many other conferences and additional activity, which helps the economic element of this city. It helps to build the economy. We provide 25% of all of the local tax dollars to our Parks and Tourism Department. And we've got over 300,000 patrons that come every year to Little Rock and to the convention center. It provides over $2.7 million annually to the state and to us. The county, I think, provides over $13 million collectively. So we do a lot for the budget of the state. The point of it all is that it is economic development. Tourism is a tremendous opportunity to promote the city in a way that really speaks to the art and culture of our city. And so I'm excited that we've been able to do this. It has really been a great day. Gretchen's been up since about 4 o'clock, talked me into doing a few shows, not much later than that. And so it's a great generator for our city. And we've got an opportunity now to pass this mic on to the folks here to my left. And then I encourage you to ask questions of some of the real talent that we've got up here, our architects and engineers.
Go to Gretchen next. Gretchen.
So I'm going to real quickly run you through the project timeline. As the mayor mentioned, there's several of us that have been working on this project for a little over 5 years. Some of them are here today. It started back in October of 2011 when the Little Rock Advertising and Promotion Commission commissioned a concept study and a program to look at the deficiencies of this building. She's been a grand old building, a wonderful cultural icon, but she had a lot of deficiencies. We were unable to really recruit top quality entertainment to Central Arkansas. And so we started that project, like I said, in 2011. That was led by Mike Steelman of SCM Architects. Also, Jim Rice from the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau has been part of that concept study and team and the owner's rep team for the last 5 years in the trenches, if you will, with us. And so, for it to come to fruition 5 years later, it's a really, really great feeling to be able to now share this facility back with the community. So that study was actually released in 2013, I believe, 2012, excuse me, and that date is not up there. The commission hired Polk Stanley Wilcox and Ennead Architects in January of 2013. In March, we hired CDI and Hunt Joint Venture as our general contractor and construction manager, and immediately began working on the design of this project. We went to the voters of Little Rock December the 10th, 2013 for a public bond election. This project is being funded by the existing Little Rock A&P tax, your tourism tax. That bond election was successful by about 75%. So we did have a lot of support in the community to build and rebuild this cultural icon. And of course, then the final design, preparation, and the construction has been going fast and furious. We officially closed July 1st of 2014, and then reopened this morning. And so, and now it is booked solid. So we're finishing the testing of the building, and we're doing all the touch-ups while we're actually moving into events. And so the first official public event will be this Saturday with ASO's Opus Ball. And then we move right into the first ASO concert on the 19th. And so I really hope that you enjoy experiencing this facility in a whole new way. It is really a whole new performance hall, as you can see front and center as you're looking out behind me. But it has been a wonderful project to be a part of, and we're thrilled to be able to now open it back up to the community of Little Rock. So I mentioned a few people or a few organizations on our project team, but they go much, much deeper than that, and a few have been mentioned. So, of course, our lead architects you will hear from in just a little bit. CDI Hunt Joint Venture, can't say enough about their craftsmanship, all of the subcontractors that they led through this project, and a lot of their leadership is here with us this evening. And then we had a whole slew of consultants and other professionals, everything from engineering to our acoustical professionals, our theatrical professionals, and several of them are still with us here this evening as well. And so when we open it up to a Q&A, if you've got a real specific question, we've got all of the professionals here to answer those. And so we look forward to being able to answer some of your technical questions about all the details that went into this performance hall and conference center.
Thanks, Gretchen. Kevin.
As Skip said, I am from Arkansas. I grew up in Pine Bluff, and I went to the university at the School of Architecture, so it's a thrill to be back here. And I might say that David and I have known each other since we were 18, and we started work together here at his firm, and we managed to stay close over all the years. And so for us, this is deeply personal because who has a relationship with this building? Everyone here has probably been here, right? And so for me, this became very important to be a part of because I felt like I offered our firm a special understanding of this place, and it was great to be back home and be a part of this. And so what I'd like to talk about a little bit is the broadest sense of this project. And we're sort of in the business of trying to imagine what things could become or be, and and since we all have some relationship with the old Robinson, and as we try to imagine what it could have been, I have to say it's a lot more than I thought we were going to get. And if you all remember how deep the hall was and how squashed it was in the X hall and everything, but there's a lot more going on here too as a project than just a new home for the symphony. There was conference space, there was a commercial enterprise for the city involved, there were very substandard actor and back of house spaces. There was, as you all remember, a very questionable and dodgy patron experience. So as you try to imagine what it could be, we spent a lot of time up front looking at lots and lots and lots of different ways to arrange it, and then solving some very basic challenges here, which was, as you all know, there would be 18-wheelers loaded on Broadway, and it was an impossible way to get in. There was no light and air in the lobbies, and so we made some simple things. If we could solve the loading, if we could make a nice space on Broadway where you could come in on grade and not have to to go up the steps. So there were some very basic things about utility, as much about trying to have an inspired sense of what this could be, as the mayor spoke so eloquently about. So it is it's an amazing thing to be a part of, and we're really thrilled to be here.
Those challenges that Kevin spoke of, as we identified them and identified the goals for our design team, of course, one of them was focused on the performance hall and creating a new 21st century state-of-the-art performance hall, really the heart of the project on one end and conference center on the other. Kate Mann, who's part of Kevin's team, and Francel Lim, both in the audience, were part of Kevin's team and as our design partner, began to look at sketches like the one on the screen, and the mayor already mentioned, where we start to pick up on some Art Deco geometry, and we talk about pushing the hall forward and the 20-foot move that we moved to push the back wall in, and then trying to honestly sort of let everybody lean forward a little bit and focus on the hall. You see how that really rough sketch that it turned into kind of a 3D model of what that might look like, and then you can see the real model, the finished product behind you. And I think you see this was in mid 2014, I think is the date on that concept, and that really held up and began to. We all began to be very enthusiastic about that kind of geometry for the hall, and that moved along in the design process. You know, the second thing, so this project, I've always told people, is about two things. It's about restoring, renovating the old, the 75 years worth of details that this hall held for everyone, and that everybody remembered, that everybody loved, that even some of the things that were covered up that had been lost in some of the 70s renovation that covered up some of the details. The mayor mentioned that we took some board and batten things off in the lobby to reveal the medallions that we then got a chance to recreate and put back up. So it was us looking at the clues of the existing building, how to restore, how to bring them in, being respectful. And then this is the section, the other kind of critical section that talks about how to enhance the patron experience. You know, when you used to come in those front steps and any of the doors, and you really didn't have a sense of your vertical circulation as you would move up and down. It was hard to see where you were going, and so one of the big ideas, if you will, was to create this 3-story grand staircase in the front of the building in that 20-foot space that we were able to repurpose by pushing the back wall forward. So we were able to recapture that, creating this kind of promenade level off of the historic lobby, and making a much better wayfinding experience, much nicer user experience for people coming in the front. Kevin and I talked about this kind of separation of these 4 areas.
Right. This really is the most descriptive image of the things that we've done. I can't stand up, sorry. The conference center that we moved from the front of the building, as you all will remember, was underneath. We went in and it was really a mess. So now it's back here in the back, and if you've been upstairs, you've seen all the great stuff. The performance support spaces, again, there's so much that goes on in this house, and you all might realize we've moved the stage out past the proscenium to give more space for the actors and the performances, and this is an orchestra pit. And there's new dressing rooms, and I think you all have heard Gretchen say today there's twice or 3 times the number of women's restrooms that we had before.
More than double.
Yeah.
More than double.
So, and there's exactly enough men's rooms. And
Increase those 2.
And then the performance hall, which we could all, David and I could talk about, and Francel and Kate and Cindy and Laura could talk about that for days. But one of the remarkable things is, if you all remember the other hall, feel how intimate this hall is. The back came forward, the walls came in, it's shaped. There's a marvelous acoustical volume that Mark helped us get. So there's been quite a lot of time and energy spent making this as technically perfect as possible for symphonic performance and supporting Broadway and other kinds of, because this hall, as you all know, it's our hall, so it has to be all things to all people all the time. And then the front of house space, the patron experience with concessions and a box office and those sorts of things, and making sure that you always know where you are when you come here is such an important part of the overall success, we hope, over time of the repurposed Robinson.
So this section drawing, this is, for those unfamiliar with what this kind of technical drawing is, it's like slicing this building in half from front to back and looking at it from the side. And the top drawing is the old Robinson Auditorium, and the gold color is the performance hall. And you see where the stage was up above the exhibition hall in the blue. And so what we did by pushing this orchestra level down is we were able to almost, I'll let Mark Holden correct me if I'm wrong, almost double the acoustic volume in the house, which is the critical element for acoustical performance, for symphonic performance, is to let there be as much room as possible for the sound to move up and back at the patrons. And so by opening up the plaster ceiling and dropping the floor, we were able to increase this volume. The metal fabric ceiling that you see behind me is acoustically transparent, and so the sound can come up from the symphony, go all the way up to the roof deck, and come all the way back down. So this was a critical big move to make this hall move way up on the scale of its fineness for both not only symphonic performance but for all the other performances in the hall. And so that represents, kind of the Gretchen and I, we talk about this section over and over again because it really kind of represents the big move for the thing. Now,
that red dash line was the old stage level, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
If you all see the red,
yes, in the bottom
drawing,
you see
the
red dash line, how far that moved down. So Gretchen has mentioned our construction team in the back, CDI Hunt. We should probably have one of their guys talking about this. One of the biggest challenges they had was how to build a building like this, how to renovate, how to add on, how to stick an expansion out over a highway with no space to store material, three streets on three sides, a hotel on the other, a skinny little section along Broadway where they set up the tower crane. This was a shot taken when the roof was off. And so these guys had to bring in material on kind of a real-time basis, bring it in, put it up, bring it in, put it up. And as Jonathan Siemens, the CDI Hunt's project manager, likes to talk about, and the other guys would testify, there's a hole about the size of a good-sized garage door that was put in the backside on the harp that literally everything in this room was chopped up and taken out of. And then what was not flown in with the tower crane and dropped in the top was also brought back in that door. And so they had a logistical nightmare, frankly. And so they were up to the challenge and again delivered, will repeat, on time and on budget. So that was a remarkable task for them to do that. This section, this drawing is a very technical drawing that Cindy Pruitt did, our project architect for Polk Stanley, that represents where all the duct work is. It was a big challenge to take this 75-year-old hall, gut it out, insert a new thing inside of it, and find space to run all this huge duct work that needs to be run around. And it's huge because it needs to move the air very quietly and very slowly to meet all of our acoustical consultants' requirements for, if we were to stop for a moment and you would have no noise, you would hear how quiet it is in this hall. And that's a real testimony to the collaboration and the coordination of the entire team to achieve that. But it's a very, very difficult technical project. This was the old hall. As you remembered, looking up from the stage, you see those light fixtures the mayor spoke about?
It's about 600 feet to the back of that hall.
Slight exaggeration. And this is after we closed and things started to come out. And then, wow, this again, going back to our construction team, not only our construction team, but our engineering team, who was able to figure out how to take out these levels that hold up the sidewalls, which the floor levels were really the bracing points for the sidewalls in this old house, this solid masonry exterior walls. And so we had to thread about 36-inch deep columns that were 94 feet tall, all the way from the roof down to the bottom of the X-Hall, through the roof, and attached them to the sidewalls to keep the, honestly, to keep the sidewalls from falling over when we took the floors out. There was also about a 12-foot beam right at the back of that picture that was at the front of the old mezzanine. And that was the last thing holding up to be cut loose, if you will. And I know Scott Belt never had any worries at all, our superintendent that Gretchen's mentioned. But you know, I didn't know whether to be out of town that day they cut that last thing loose, or as I told some of our team, I either want to be out of town if the walls fall in or under them, one or the other. So I didn't want to know about it if it happened. Behind us, at the back of the mezzanine, at the back of the balconies back there, that's also about a 90-foot tall concrete wall that's latticed in from top to bottom that really stabilizes the old front of the building, the historic lobby. So we were able to keep the historic lobby intact by putting this big bracing wall in to keep it intact and keep it on. So it didn't shake anything loose off the walls. We had to put this giant supporting wall in. Again, we took everything out of the middle of this building, absolutely everything out. Everything that you see inside the walls of the old building is new. Kevin, you talked a little bit about this construction phase.
Well, these are the new tiers. I can't see that far. The new tiers that are going in that also help brace, but we're on the stage right now, right, in this photograph? Yeah. So it was a pretty amazing operation to watch the CDI Hunt folks brings all these things in.
You know, there were some days that it felt like things were moving very slowly, but then all of a sudden you would wake up and things like this were happening. And this is only a few months ago, as the side walls were framed up, and you can see the upper tier there without any seats in it and bare concrete. The Cascade Coil ceiling mesh was installed here, and some of the side walls are in. So there were, I'm going to ask Scott, he can yell it out, or Jonathan. How many folks at maximum were here at any one time, peak day, working?
Maximum 200. About 200 folks.
About 200 people were, scurrying all over this job site to get this done. It was a big effort, and I will tell you that most of that group were local subcontractors and suppliers, which is a real testimony to the procurement of our general contractor team to push the money, local money, through our local subs and suppliers.
David, the last slide in this slide would really give an indication of the enormous volume in this hall, much of which we can't really realize from where we sit, but that is at the heart of why this will be such a beautiful acoustic environment, and as Philip Mann would say, becomes an instrument, and the instrument with which their craft gets expressed and shown to all the folks here in Arkansas. So the volume is so important, so much of what, we were talking a lot about what it took to get everything out of here, but it was to clean it out and edit it to be able to have the volume to create such a marvelous acoustic response here.
You saw that original model where this sidewall geometry was conceived, and you see how it's turned out in this picture on the screen, and also in the house behind you. We spent a lot of time looking at the Art Deco details of the original hall, and just the Art Deco details of the period. I think you probably saw them if you got to tour today. Little reminders of some of the folded plate, faceted wall details that are on the house. You see it in the carpet of the ballroom. You see it in the planes of the ballroom ceiling. Our interior designer, Laura Hendricks, and Eniad's architects worked very closely to select colors and finishes that were reminiscent of deco detailing. And again, we really wanted to create something on the backside of the conference center that is brand new, state of the art of today, but tied in very lightly to the old, and have them be compatible, and have there be a continuation of thought between old and new. And that's a chore to do, quite frankly. And one of our favorite spaces on the west side, if you've seen the three-story lobby on the west side, where we've been able to incorporate the vertical brick detailing and the mask at the top inside, and when we brought that new addition around, we always want to sort of lightly touch the old wall, and so we put a glass slot there, so you can see the brick wall moving inside and outside, and you see that brick detailing on both inside and through the slot at night. And of course, fast forwarding to this was almost probably taken yesterday, as I don't know, as final cleaning was going on. The historical lobby the mayor's already spoken of, that was kind of a labor of love to restore. We wanted people to come in that maybe even remembered this back before the 70s renovation and go, wow, this is how I remember it when I was a kid. And paying respect to those first designers, our friends at Whitberg, and that originally designed this building, and a wonderful design, and we wanted to bring that back alive by stripping out some of the things that had covered up those things. It was a challenge to get some limestone and marble and piece it all back together. And as the mayor has already mentioned, we've got the chandeliers coming soon to replicate those that were there. All right, Gretchen, I think I'm pitching over to you for this one.
Yeah, let me just say that as we were sitting here going through that, I remember, Gretchen, when Barry Travis was director of the Little Rock Convention and Visitors Bureau, and walked out the front door of what was then the old Excelsior Hotel. And basically when he looked to his left or he looked to his right, thank God for Ariana's Pizza, because that was about it. And now you look, Mayor, at walking up and down this street at all the hotels and all the meeting places. David Strickland's here at the Butler Center, the Ron Robinson Auditorium and Theater is just such a great addition to the city. Expansion of the convention center, the pedestrian bridges, what's happening on Main Street. You look at that, it's a heck of a nice thing to offer meeting and convention planners who come here with all these various facilities. And so, Mayor, you got to be proud of your city.
I'm really proud of the citizens who recognized how important this was. The ability to fund this with an existing tax and not dig into everybody's pocketbooks to do it was, I think, a great opportunity. And I think we were able to tell the story, and people responded very positively. So, this was a labor of love for many, many, many people. And so we should all be proud of our city. I think we live in a wonderful place.
I think we do too. Before we go to questions from you, I want to introduce Jonathan. Where's Jonathan Siemens back here? Jonathan, where did Jonathan walk out? Just up down. Maybe on a tour. He was the project manager of this thing and just did a spectacular job for CBI. So let's throw it open to questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand. You've got all the experts here. Yes, please, if you would stand up and ask a question.
Yeah, I have a couple of ones. I see three levels. This lower one, the second, the third. Second and third. I see three levels. The lower, the middle, the upper one. The second, the middle, and the upper ones, I see them following a nice slope. And the lower one is not. So the first question is why the lower one is not following the same slope like the second and third? And the second,
I'm going to ask Jack Hagler with Schuler Shook, our theatrical consultant, to take that question, and he'll be able to answer that very, very clearly.
The quick answer is it's not needed. Our sightlines are actually optimized for the front of the stage. We actually have a stage extension for the symphony. I'm going to step out of that light. We have a stage extension for the symphony, but for sightlines, we have optimized the target to be 1 foot from the edge of the stage and 1 foot up. And then we computer modeled everything as far as the angles so that everyone can see right to here at the front of the stage. And that's why, as you move up, it takes a greater angle to see that target.
Jack, the same in these boxes, right? We've got great sight lines from...
Yes, the boxes are exceptional. Generally, you don't get a good sight line from a box, and these are exceptional, even up close.
Did we gain or lose seats? I can't tell from sitting here. We have more seats.
We did lose several hundred seats, and that was anticipated. There were actually about 100 seats that had obscured sight lines and obstructed views in the previous house. But by pulling everyone in about 20 feet closer to that stage, adding the height, and then adding all the patron amenities in the front of the house, expanded restrooms, built-in concessions, we knew we were going to lose quite a few seats. So we're at 2214 is our maximum capacity, and we can actually reduce that a little bit more for the symphony, because the symphony's optimum seating capacity is just under 2,000, and we're able to remove these front 2 rows and add that extension for the symphony that Jack just mentioned.
Yes, you got a question. Here comes my.
So often, projects like this are done around the world, and the governmental heads of the government are brought, the CEOs are brought and honored. And I was wondering if there's any plan to honor the workers that spent the hot summer, do something for them to show them our appreciation beyond their Friday paycheck.
So the symphony has actually graciously offered complimentary tickets to all of the subcontractors and their families. And we're working out details for that. They want to spread that out through the entire season. And then, of course, they're also hosting a free community concert. And those tickets have actually already been given away. But for the entire opening season, they are going to offer vouchers for their families to come and enjoy a performance in the house that they built.
Any other questions? Yes, your question about that.
How do you test the acoustics with the wiring?
Mark Holden.
Is Mark still here?
Mark here?
He gave us the proxies.
He gave you his
Did Mark have to stay on?
He did. He had a conference call to take.
Mark had to step out, but the answer on the acoustics is, the Broadway acoustics wants to be very dry and not reverberant. And the acoustics for symphony is exactly the opposite. It wants to be very reverberant. And so there are a lot of acoustic drapes up above the mesh metal that we were talking about earlier that absorb that when we're in Broadway mode. To test that, Mark actually came in and his team with some instrumentation and balloons. And what they do to test it is they blow up these great big balloons that are about like this, and they pop them, and then they measure the decay of the sound in the room. So just for your trivia to take home, this room measured out at 2.2 seconds unoccupied for symphony mode with the curtains retracted, and it measured out at 1.4 seconds reverberation with the absorption in place, and that's for Broadway and popular music. So there's your trivia for those who remember that game.
Yes, we got a question right here.
I had the opportunity a couple of times during the Broadway series to usher and volunteer to usher here. And one of my friends who also ushers we're looking at this and we're noticing there aren't any aisles up there. And can you say something about how easy it is going to be to get around, to go there?
Well,
Back to you, Jack.
Let's just come up here and
so the aisles actually up top have a little bit more room in them because they're for two reasons. One, you're going across people, and two, there are code issues. Going back to the sight lines, the two balconies are much steeper, and what we wanted to do was keep people on the sides of that, moving up and down, circulating on the sides where you had easy grasp of handrails and could move in and out. And so that's the reason that was done. Down on the lower level, we do have the aisles. That's done for a community to see it's done for a couple of reasons, circulation, but also to be able to bump into your neighbors, have a talk with friends, bump into friends, and have a sense of community during intermissions and things like that. So one other trend is that aisle seats are now being premium priced. So I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but it is a trend across the country that when you have aisles, people like the aisles, and those chairs are a little bit higher price.
Got time for one more question. Yes, sir. Right over here. She's coming at you with the mic.
Looking out about midsection, you've got larger seats versus the small ones. Is that handicap?
Are you talking about back over here?
Yeah.
Yes. Those seats, they're here. There's also, I can't see it where I am, but there's also a chair up top you'll see on the house right. That is for wheelchair seating. There's wheelchair seating back here. There's the Americans with Disabilities Act has a certain amount that's based on the capacity of the room that has to be in there. If we don't have that many wheelchairs, then there are loose chairs that fit in place of the wheelchairs.
Raise your hand if you remember when Robinson Auditorium opened and you were here. We have one. Very great. All right. Raise your hand if you have performed or been in a performance on this stage. All right. Mayor, you have something you want to say?
Just one final thing. Philip Mann, our conductor, was asked by a group, what is the best seat in the house? And I figured you'd like to know the answer to that. So he said, well, stand right here and look out and tell me whether you can see every seat in the house. And the answer is yes, you can see every seat in the house. And so his first answer is all of the seats are great seats in the house, number one. Number two is he said that if he had a choice, he probably would be picking right there in the center of the first balcony. So for those of you who are still looking to figure out what are the best seats in the house, I thought I'd give you that little advice.
Well, now he's back in the room, and I want to introduce him. I want you all to meet Jonathan Siemens. This is the guy that ran this project and did a great job. Jonathan, raise your hand. So, thank you, guys. We really appreciate Gretchen. Thanks for hosting us. It's great to have day one on the stage. It's going to be great kind of performances here. Mayor, you listed 16 things that were happening. Pleased to announce, and Nikolai is working with Gretchen on this, that the 2017, somewhere in this building, maybe not in this 2,800 seat or 2,400 seat auditorium, but somewhere in this building will be the Clinton School graduation in 2017. So our class will graduate. So thank you all for coming, and have a safe trip home and enjoy the afternoon. Thank you.